Hello everyone, I welcome you all to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Neha, affiliated with Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. Today we are going to learn about Women in Development approach as part of the paper titled Gender and Social Work. As part of the approaches on gender and development, there have been three major debates, three major critical perspectives that have been outlined by Eva Redkeber, which include WID, WAD and GAD, and WID being the oldest and the most dominant of these three approaches. We begin with WID today, and we are going to try and see various features, limitations, contributions, as well as theoretical approaches of the Women in Development approach, WID approach today. And during the course of the module, we aim to engage the students in understanding the global historical context of development of women as a distinctive category in development debates, policy and practice. We also expect the students to develop a critical understanding of the basic features and contributions of WID approach in the field of development. Also, the student should be able to understand how to engage with WID approach while studying or implementing any development program from gender lens. So we begin with an overview wherein I would like to begin by saying that the term WID was first used by the Women's Committee of the Washington DC in their efforts to bring the evidence brought by Boserup in her 1970 documentation of the regressive impact of development on women's lives to the attention of policymakers. This approach, WID approach, came to prominence as an approach to include women in development in the early 1970s. It calls for a greater attention to women in development. It calls for an integration of women into the overall development policies, processes and structures. This approach also adheres to the beliefs and assumptions of modernization theory of development. It also stresses on pursuing, it stresses on pursuing Western beliefs and Western values and economic growth. Then again, liberal feminism has also influenced and contributed to the evolution of WID approach, and the liberal feminists first began advocating for integration of women in development as producers and workers after Boserup's book. This WID can be called to be a merging of an amalgamation of a coming together of modernization and liberal feminist theory. Also draws from this approach draws from liberal feminism. It becomes important to learn a little bit about liberal feminism at this moment. Liberal feminism is basically a feminist theory, and it aims at achieving gender equality and stresses on individuals' ability of ending discriminatory practices. It emphasizes on democratic processes to achieve equality before the law and in the society. It is believed within the theory that women have the same mental capacity as men and should be given the same opportunities and rights in political, economic and social spheres. Essentially, main principle behind liberal feminists' call for equality is that women must be like men. They organize women and lobby for their rights at higher levels of lawmaking. This approach, this liberal feminist approach, began in the 18th and 19th centuries and continues to be the primary approach for various agencies till date. The proponents and activists continue to aim at ending gender discrimination by focusing on customary and legal systems which restrict women's equal access and rights in the public sphere. The major issues that have been addressed by liberal feminists are, for example, voting rights for women, reproductive rights, education, employment rights, healthcare, etc. And it is important to highlight the names of certain main proponents of the theory, and they are Mary Wollstonecraft, John Stuart Mill, and Betty Friedan. Now that we have got to know about a very basic thing about women in development approach, we try to find out how did it originate. And very simply stated, it originated in the 1970s, and according to Tinker, it was during this period that two major conglomeration of women gave rise to the impetus of this approach, gave rise to impetus for integrating women in development. And these two conglomerations were UN Commission on the Status of Women and US Women's Movement. So while the commission sought equality before law and pressed for greater access to education for women, the US women activists pressed for right to equal employment, which was seen as the best way to achieve gender equality, as income and employment status were the most important things to be equal about. being economically independent was thought to be the most important part of becoming developed for a woman. So both groups, however, sought policy change. As within WID approach, this has been a major focus. Policy change has been the focus. How do they think about changing the status and destinies of women is through law, through policy change. So, for example, this picture speaks about, shows an image from the times where people were out on the streets in the US, women were out on the streets in the US and asking for equality before the law, and this is what it is. And when you talk about the origin of WID approach, it is very important to talk about the book by Boserup and how it has been seen as a watershed in thinking and planning about women. Tinker also calls it a fundamental book for you and decade for women. Coinciding with various social movements that were happening and the general questioning mood, this book legitimized the need for efforts to include women in development policies and programs, because it was seen to be a kind of evidence why women need to be brought in development equally and at equal pedestal. WID educates for the first time used scholarly material. For the first time in the history, there was this kind of use of scholarly material, the use of evidence to ask for, to question why women should not, why women have lesser or fewer rights than men, and why, how and why they should be having more and equal rights. Okay, so it was during the same period that liberal feminists' idea of equal opportunity of women was also taking place. It had become central. Some agencies created WID offices as well and had WID staff, for example, in places like Scandinavia and Canada, etc. These staff and planners initiated assessment of women's lives and lived experiences and collected women-specific statistics. It becomes important to highlight here again and again that WID has been very important in beginning in initiating the collection of sex desegregated statistics for women and how they have been experiencing their everyday lives. And at international level, the concern with WID approach also became very apparent, and the World Plan of Action emerging at the Mexico Conference in 1975 set the agenda for the United Nations Decade for Women. Across the world, offices were set up with WID staff, and they were looking into development issues for women. So there is this, in this table one can find a very summarized form of the whole course, and students can get back to it if need be. But right now, what is important to talk about now that we have seen how it originated is what are the basic features of WID approach, what are the basic tenets of WID approach. And the major thing, the defining feature of this approach has been the focus on integration of women. WID approach is appreciated, and for initiating this integration, for initiating the call for integration of women into this development debate, the most significant corrective measure suggested by WID was emphasizing on the need for women to be actively integrated. They have to be actively integrated in development for an effective and efficient development to happen. They saw women's exclusion from market and their limited control over productive resources as the reasons for their subordinate status. The proponents thus focused on inclusion in productive lives, productive sphere, in public sphere for women. But this is again a problem as well, because they focused only on productive sphere of women's lives, and there has been criticism which will be discussed later. Second feature has been, for the first time, WID approach began and initiated and improved statistical measures, and there was this call for an beginning of sex desegregated data which was being collected now. WID called for improving statistical measures therefore, and these measures of women's work so that a better understanding of women's development needs and concerns can be made. There has to be some proof to say that we need this. So these kind of statistics were being prepared now, so that women WID planners had some proof to start calling for the rights of women in productive lives, productive sphere. Then one of the features is that there is this immense focus on women's practical needs, women's need for education, women's need for higher incomes, women's need for credit facilities, etc. WID also focused at the level of household management and how women should be more trained into household management and how family planning skills and methods are also required. The proponents saw women in terms of what they could offer to development and not otherwise. This is again one of the problems which can be which will be discussed later in the module. When we talk about WID, we see that all the time the main tool which WID approach uses is policy change. To seek change in the lives of women, they seek change in the policy. They call for newer and improved laws which put women as equal persons as men. So this was primary on WID's agenda, and the kind of issues, the kind of the issues around which law change, legal changes and policy changes were sought were employment, education, access to law, empowerment and economic development. Now that these are the basic features, one thing which we need to also discuss about or talk about at least briefly is the role played by World Conferences on Women, which happened in Mexico, Copenhagen, Nairobi, etc. Why it becomes important is that these conferences played a huge role. They played a very significant role in bringing women's issues to the international level, to the level where everybody recognized that there are issues around women in development that have to be addressed and solved. These conferences were led by UN. So therefore, these UN-led meetings could legitimize women's issues on a much larger scale, and also in eyes of the state leaders and administrators at a global scale, which was not perhaps possible by only women organizing themselves or only small groups doing something about the rights of the women. The conferences also became very important because they required state governments to submit some kind of statistics, some kind of record about the lives and work of women in their individual countries or societies. So these kind of data started coming during these conferences, because of these conferences. And also while there used to be this big high level meetings between high level stakeholders at political topmost level, there were also other women's groups and other human rights groups which were organizing themselves on the sidelines of the conferences everywhere around the globe. And this is something which is very, very important and significant, and which made it a very powerful thing, because these conferences sent message to the most wider population until now. So WID became a very significant concept by 1985 in the development processes affecting women. It also went beyond being a concept, and various scholars and practitioners adopted this while pushing for their goals towards women development. Now that we see what are the features and how it came to exist, we also need to carefully look into the theoretical underpinnings of WID. Within which we will primarily talk about modernization theory, the contributions, etc. WID approach relies on modernization theory. It draws from its origin, its evolution, etc. And the modernization theory is one of the first sociological understandings of development which tried to add social and cultural understanding to the claims of economic theory. It sees development as a unilinear evolutionary process of change from a traditional pre-modern society to a modern society. It perceives this movement in terms of various stages, each one more improved and each one taken at one time. The pre-modern traditional culture, beliefs, institutions and behaviors are seen as being impediments to the goal of being developed. Thus the modern society is moved from kinship to family-based systems to highly individualized systems. The achievements under modernization framework are credited to individual efforts rather than ascribed statuses. Offering, so basically within modernization theory, the major proponents, for example, Talcott Parsons, gave a very functional understanding of division of labor, and this is what is problematic and can be looked at later in detail. But within this particular theory, women and men were socialized into certain gender roles. So it was believed that it would be best for them to take care of those roles because they are socialized into them, because they are trained into doing those roles. As women procreate, for example, it was seen as only rational to specialize in domestic labor and for men to take care of market outside their homes. Now we move on to see how WID responds to the changing modern world. The responses of WID scholars and advocates to development from a modern view builds the basis of many shifts in development policies and how they viewed women. WID raised some doubts over the market and economic growth-led development and its effects for women. Economic growth had failed to reduce women's domestic drudgery, and they were not sharing the new productive resources, the new opportunities, the new technologies. Gender roles and prejudices continued, and market was also gendered in its approach towards women. While WID advocates continued with the fundamental liberal worldview, they did depart from mainstream development thought. They brought to the fore that women were not benefiting from this economic growth model. Bozarab's book guided women in development approaches significant analysis of women's productive and reproductive lives across cultures and how, despite sharing reproductive roles, their productive roles differed across cultures. In the third world, for example, market preferred men as they had access to education, formal training, and they had been socialized into developing attitudes that suited the market. Thus, modernization did not help much in enhancing the productive lives in the third world and led to development of a sex-based job hierarchy. So the problem did not only continue, it became more profound. The modern economy had pushed women further to the margins of development. They lacked the much required training or qualifications, and they began to be viewed in the economy as secondary workers who could come to work if there was a need for the family for them to work, for example. Further importantly, it was sex role theory which was criticized by the WID advocates. They claimed that it did not have a balancing influence for women and men's lives, as it was seen within the modernization theory being a very functional thing where men do the things they are trained for, women do the things they are socialized into. But within this, but rather this WID approach criticized the sex role theory and said that this is not a very balancing act if we put women and men into their sex-defined roles, and because it subjects women to inferior statuses not only in their personal, familial or community life, but also in productive lives, in market lives. WID criticized this theory by exposing how this theory plays a damaging role in policy making and implementation through unequal sharing of productive resources and responsibilities between women and men, and which ultimately favors men. The criticism of sex role theory led to an emphasis on developing sex disaggregated data for a more empirically based data for development planning. Also, WID advocates moved from welfare to efficiency approach and argued against associating women as a category with one that needed welfare. They focus on women's need to shift focus on efficiency and merit, and they argued about how inclusion of women in development will only help in the development processes and development results. Within WID approach, there have been various approaches, sub-approaches that have been taken by major practitioners and proponents within WID approach. These can be seen as listed out there. There is this welfare approach, because this was also an approach which was taken by the initial WID practitioners. Then there is efficiency approach. Then we have the equity approach, the anti-poverty approach, the empowerment approach. Then also this, the latest approach within WID also is mainstreaming gender equality. So these are the various approaches that have been used by different people in different contexts at different times and different scales within WID. Now we move on to see what has been the critique of WID. So WID has done a wonderful job of bringing the women's issues to the fore by initiating the research on women's specific experiences, but there have been major shortcomings with WID. It has been often criticized for being a very non-confrontational approach. it does not ask why women had not been benefiting from development strategies. It fails to recognize and address the role patriarchy played in the subjugation of women. It completely ignored the fact that women in all societies and all classes, importantly, have subordinate position, as patriarchy is the main culprit. It failed to see unequal gender relations and roles as the basis of women's exclusion and gender subordination. With focus on productive public sphere, the larger social processes that affect women's lives and their reproductive roles remained unchallenged within this approach. Secondly, there is this lack of focus on women's reproductive lives. The approach focuses on including women in paid work, including women in jobs, including women in better educational opportunities, etc. So it focuses mainly on productive aspects of women's lives. It has restricted transformative capacities because it does not engage with the reproductive aspects of women's lives, and it kind of ignores their reproductive and domestic labor. And when we do that, we only add to the women's workload if we only ask for women's inclusion in production, and we do not see what they are doing in their reproductive spheres and how gender relations are panning out in their reproductive lives in a particular family or a household. It only leads to increased workload for women, and because men continue to not share the domestic responsibilities in most of the societies or most of the families. Also, WID approach has this flawed assumption about women's involvement in development. It comes with an assumption where they say that women should be integrated into economy, they should be included in economic development. So it kind of comes with an assumption that they had not been integrated, that they had not been participating in development, but it is not true. They have always been involved in household production and informal economic and political activities. So this assumption is also very much flawed, and it is for this flawed assumption that this approach is quite criticized. Next, there is within this approach there is failure to question and address global systems and inequities. There is a focus on only economic issues, and it is ignored how the certain countries are developed and why others are not developed, how race and class becomes influence and are influenced by development processes. So therefore this kind of critique comes from third world countries, because it wrongly assumes that Western institutions are the answer for all development questions and ignores the strengths of traditional indigenous knowledges. It also wrongly assumes that moving into modern sector and productive employment is needed for women's development. This assumption implies that traditional work roles and systems are inhibiting to women's self-development. There's critique about this approach which comes at the level where it is criticized for over-reliance on the state as provider of solutions. And this critique also comes from third world countries wherein women were organizing themselves without much support from the government, because state can also be conforming women's subordinate system, as it is also, you know, it is also an institution which is based in patriarchal systems, and state even in the West, in most cases, women's staff and offices are merely co-opted into the general development works, and state does not really have a very gender-aware approach in many cases to kind of attack the structural patriarchal inequities that are creating and maintaining gender inequities, because the people who form state, the people who are taking decisions at the state themselves belong to and represent the patriarchal ideologies at some level. Also, a very stark, very big critique that comes against the WID approach is the fact that women are being seen as tools for development. So while it says that women should be included, and the efficiency approach says that if we include women in development processes, plans and activities, it will be good for the whole development of society. So we are kind of seeing that women are being used as tools for development rather than it being otherwise, where development also does something for women. It fails to give women's issues their due unconditionally. So it is more about development and less about women, and maybe even if it is about women, there are certain conditions about it that are being raised here. So to sum up, we can say that WID approach is wonderful because it for the first time brought to the fore, brought on the development agenda or at international level women's issues and how women were being left out of the fruits of development and how they should be more equally important participants in development and in sharing the fruits of development. But there have been criticism, there have been some shortcomings. Women continue to be, despite economic participation, despite increased economic participation in paid work, women are still being politically, socially not equal with men, and they are still facing challenges at every level in their family, in their community, in country at large, in the world at large. So they continue to be marginalized, they continue to be the subordinated section of the community across the globe. And in such situations, there are various issues which are coming up to be the reasons why only economic development is not enough, and there are various other factors which are causing those, creating and maintaining those subordinate status of women. Those factors, those contexts which create those factors, they are being recognized, and newer approaches are evolving to respond to those new constraints, new understandings, and these new approaches will be discussed in other modules of the course. Thank you very much for participating in this course, and if there are some other questions or clarifications to be made, there can be more readings that can be done, and there is a list of references that has been given which students can look into. Thank you.